Live from downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
I thought I was going to be shot or robbed or pulled out of my car.
A mom of three attacked in a store parking lot. Her husband hears it all going down live and in real time through his cell phone. Good to have you with us here for Local 4 News at 6. I'm Devin Skillion.
I'm Kimberly Gill. That moment leaving the Wayne woman stunned and ready to fight for her life as that attacker pulled out a gun.
Yeah. But what happened next? Something no one could have predicted. Sean Lay live outside the Walmart where these tense moments unfolded. Sean.
Let's think about that. Think what you would think in this day and age of Devin and Kimberly. Active shooters, gun violence. There was a shooting in Atlanta yesterday. Here's what happened to Ashley Lentz. She's on the phone with her husband talking about the grocery list here. She's about to go into the Walmart when some guys pull up really fast and point what looks like a real gun at her. Ashley tells us and shares her story, what happened next.
The first thing I thought about was like my children. I just got married, my husband, like what's going to happen? Like yeah.
Ashley Lentz thought, this is it. I'm going to be shot. 7:30 last night, she was in her car in the Canton Walmart on Ford Road, talking to her husband on her cell's speakerphone, and he heard Ashley scream.
He just heard me screaming, I got shot.
And then what did it sound like? What was he hearing?
The ting, 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 because it was going all over, just all over.
Ashley thought she had been shot. Her husband thought she had been shot. She says 2 to 3 African-American teens pulled right up to her open car window, leveled a rifle that looks like this right at her, and opened fire. Ashley was hit in the head multiple times. It hurt, but no blood. She was being shot with airsoft BBs.
He got me right in the temple. It was the first hit was right in the temple. I was panicked. I couldn't even think straight. My legs started shaking, but I knew I had to get his license plate number, and I had to make sure my husband knew that I was okay. And I did. I just put my car in drive, and I followed him.
Ashley did follow, but could not get a plate.
They were screaming and laughing. They were just laughing like so loud.
This mother of 3 says she could have had a heart attack. She could have crashed, or the teens could have crashed into someone else, or the next person they shoot might shoot back with real bullets.
I just want to tell them that it's traumatizing. I'm a mother. I have a 5-month-old son. I have a 9-year-old. I have a 12-year-old. I have a husband that I just married. You know, like this is, and also they could do this, you know, to the wrong person and get themselves hurt.
Back here live, it's very important to point out the kind of car these guys were in. Ashley tells us it's a light or gray Ford Fusion. Kimberly, Devin just got off the phone with the Canton police chief. He calls all of this very alarming. They are indeed investigating big time. Back to you.
A horrendous experience. But any reports of other things like this happening in that area, Sean?
I asked the chief. He says he's looking into that. The officers that met Ashley across the street here when she felt like she got to safety told her they had been getting some reports of other things happening like this. So they are out here looking. They're also looking for video to see if they can track these guys down.
Yeah. Oh boy. All right, Sean.
Well, for the second time in a week, there was an intense search for Dee Warner. 52-year-old woman was last seen in April of 2021 at her home near Tecumseh in Lenawee County.
Our Karen Drew here to tell us where investigators were digging some pretty deep holes today, Karen.
Yeah, some major developments today, Devin and Kim. Today, Michigan State Police had heavy machinery. They were digging on this piece of property right there. Now, here's the background. Dee Warner actually owned this property with her husband, and Dee's brother is hoping that this could bring some closure for their family.
That we're going to continue the pressure to follow up and bring justice for my sister.
Sky 4 was over the scene of a field on a piece of property Dee Warner owned with her husband on Paragon Road. According to Dee's brother, the property had a home on it that was being demolished at the time of her disappearance. So after she went missing, Greg Hardy says Dee's husband burned the house to the ground. Hardy claims he's been encouraging MSP to search this property for a year and a half.
They are spending a lot of effort at this one, so I would like to think that there's good intention. I hope there's good evidence for what they're trying to do.
Hardy claims MSP removed all the demolished materials from the property and are examining it, and he hopes this will give some answers.
Of course, we have hope and we have determination. I mean, those are kind of two different things. For me, it's all about determination, and that's where we're set, laser focused on.
Obviously, we're asking lots of questions, but Michigan State Police giving very little information on this search, other than acknowledging that they continue to search for Dee Warner. Devin and Kim, we'll keep you posted. Back to you.
All right, Karen. Repairs are underway at the Detroit Golf Club after vandals destroyed the greens on 2 holes of the North Course. Damage temporarily shut down the course to players. Right now, groundskeepers racing the clock to get things patched up because the Rocket Mortgage Classic kicks off next month. Detroit police say a chemical spill is to blame for the burn lines that you see on the 11th and 12th greens. No word yet on whether or not they've got any suspects in the case.
The U.S. ambassador to Russia, Lynn Tracy, is spending time today with Paul Whelan. This is her first visit to the wrongfully detained American since taking up the post in Moscow. According to the U.S. Embassy's Twitter account, the White House is still actively working to get Whelan released and back home. He was detained in Russia in December of 2018 and later sentenced to 16 years in prison on an espionage charge he vehemently denies.
Been rainy and cold for days, but the sunshine finally trying to make a comeback.
Yes, Kim, tell me it's almost time to break out the shorts, the flip-flops, all of that good stuff.
Getting way down the road here.
Hang on. Wasn't it just Monday you told me you were putting your Christmas tree back
That's true.
up?
That's true.
I think that was just 3 days ago. We might want to slow our roll a little bit here, Kimberly. All right, it's this time of year, though, where you see everything. People are either in shorts or their winter coat. When you get into the 60s, it just kind of depends on your own personality. 60 in Detroit and Howell, 59 in Pontiac. The weather story, 70s on the horizon for the second half of the weekend, which is looking pretty good. And then an unsettled pattern next week with a little bit of rain coming in. This evening, nice and dry, but temperatures are going to fall off pretty quickly once the sun sets. After 8 o'clock, we drop down into the low 50s, and by midnight tonight, all the way down into the 40s. But we do not have any frost advisory tonight, so your annuals are safe. Your plants and things like that, it will stay in the 40s. The high tomorrow gets back finally to normal levels at 66 with a lot of sunshine. You can always find out the hour-by-hour forecast just by downloading the Forewarn Weather app. Go to your favorite app store and type in WDIV.
All right, Kim. Another major construction project is getting underway in Metro Detroit starting Monday morning. Roughly 5, is this every day? I've got another one to tell you about.
Right,
I know, starting Monday morning, roughly 5 miles of 8 Mile Road between Woodward and Van Dyke Avenue going to be torn up.
The surfacing project will cost roughly $50 million and impact drivers in Detroit, Ferndale, Hazel Park, and Warren. Be prepared for delays and lane changes through fall.
If you have a very sore throat this week, you have a lot of company.
Yeah, after 2 years of low levels, cases of strep throat surged this winter, and that trend has continued into the spring. Dr. Frank McGeorge is here with a closer look at what's going around. Doc?
Yeah, Kim and Devin, the CVS mini clinics have locations across Metro Detroit, and they say this week, strep is still going strong. Children's Hospital continues to see lots of children coming in with strep as well, including some that are really sick. Here's what's going around where you live.
In Wayne County, Dr. Kevin Daisy at Children's Hospital says strep throat is really bad right now and causing serious complications in some children. Dr. Jamie Hope at Beaumont Livonia is seeing COVID-positive patients and seasonal allergy symptoms. The CVS mini clinics report cases of impetigo. That's a highly contagious skin infection that causes red sores on the face. They're also treating bronchitis and ringworm. Moving to Oakland County, Dr. Steve McGraw at Ascension Providence in Southfield is seeing an increase in cases of hand, foot, and mouth disease, as well as upper respiratory viruses. Dr. Rena Dazia from Henry Ford Bloomfield Township is treating a lot of allergies and asthma flares with the weather changes. The CVS mini clinics are seeing patients with strep throat, COVID, sinus infections, and ear infections. Looking at Washtenaw County, Dr. Marissa Louie at Michigan Medicine continues to treat a number of children with stomach viruses, including rotavirus, which is vaccine preventable. In adults, Dr. Brad Uren is seeing upper respiratory infections, including COVID. Seasonal allergies and asthma flare-ups continue, but were somewhat lower this week. Heading to Monroe County, ER doctors at ProMedica Monroe Regional are treating stomach viruses and strep throat. They're also seeing COPD flare-ups and headaches. Finally, in Macomb County, Dr. Evan Coyne at McLaren Macomb is seeing viral infections causing cough, congestion, and runny noses. Seasonal allergies and asthma complications are trending up. The CVS mini clinics report strep throat is rising again there.
Now, Dr. Daisy at Children's says it's important for parents to remember that strep can cause complications like rheumatic fever, scarlet fever, and an involuntary movement disorder that's referred to as chorea. Now, he says he actually recently saw a case of that for the first time in 12 years.
Really interesting. So what should parents do if they think their child has strep throat?
Well, you know, most of the time, actually, strep can be managed by your pediatrician. But if a child has a fever despite appropriate treatment or antibiotics, or if it lasts longer than 5 days, or they're not acting like themselves, or maybe they're not able to take down adequate fluid, then they may need to be seen at the hospital. So staying in close communication with your pediatrician, that's really important because they're going to tell you when to go in.
Sure. Okay. Dr. McGeorge, we appreciate it. Well, as the weather warms up, the Washtenaw County Health Department is reminding residents to be mindful of ticks and mosquitoes. Ticks can be active when the weather is above 40 degrees and mosquitoes are just starting to come out. Lone Star ticks have already been found in Washtenaw County this year. Meanwhile, West Nile hasn't been reported in Washtenaw County since 2018, but that doesn't mean the threat no longer exists. The health department suggests wearing long sleeves, pants, and socks when playing outside near the woods or standing water.
The Michigan Department of Natural Resources is updating the state's threatened and endangered species list to include dozens more plants, animals, and insects. It's the 7th update to the list in nearly 50 years. Researchers just added 58 rare species, including the little brown bat, to the list. They also removed 36 species, including the trumpeter swan. As of tonight, the state's list has a total of 407 threatened and endangered species listed.